Yeah, I'm currently a research scientist for CSIRO. I just finished my PhD. I researched faba bean physiology. And before that, I was in Southwest Vic. I was working for Southern Farming Systems, and that's where I really got started on pulse agronomy, which led to the PhD and to where I am now. Yeah, one thing I was really surprised to see, I guess, in my experiences of good seasons in well-managed trials in Southwest Vic and in the data that I was looking at, is that faba bean is really responsive to the good years. Like in the best seasons, it's hard to beat faba bean. In those really tight, short, hard seasons, faba bean yields sort of start ranking lower down with the other crop types. So it's really going to shine in those good years if you can look after it, and in those years it's when disease and lodging are the issue. But for heat and drought, stress, those are just hard stresses for all crops, faba bean included. Maybe some things rank a little bit better in those times, but faba bean is really going to shine in the good years, and it's those years where it's really going to pay its way in the system. So all crops have a critical period for yield determination. All crops are overproducing flowers and then killing them depending on how much resources they have, and how much they're growing during the critical period is like the resources they have to work with. So with the resources they have, they're going to lock in a certain seed number and then fill those seeds up to whatever size they're targeting. And across seasons, all crops, they're going to try, in better years, they're going to try to make more babies or more seeds. They're not going to try to make bigger seeds or bigger babies so much. For faba bean, that period is from when flowering starts to when it finishes. In cereals, that's when sort of like a coinciding with booting, when the spike is growing inside the sheath. And for other crops like maize, it's around silking. So what's in common for all of them is it's the time when all crops are growing the most, that really rapid period of growth, and it's that period where they're allocating a lot of growth to the seeds. So that's what makes it critical. And in faba bean, it's from flowering to the end of flowering. That gives us some helpful goalposts for agronomy. If we get to the start of the critical period and we can still see the ground, we're not intercepting all that light, what that means is that it's not just the environment holding back growth, it's also the crop itself, because if leaves aren't intercepting light, then that's one of the constraints on growth. So what that would suggest is that you should have full ground cover by the start of the critical period by flowering, pod emergence in faba bean, so that growth is only limited by the environment. Now there's some fuzzy areas. I mean, it could be that extra growth means you're more at risk for disease and lodging, and you have to factor that in. And you could get away with a little bit less than full ground cover because there'll be better light penetration. We're not really sure on what that fuzzy area is, but I think what happens a lot is that people are afraid of disease and lodging. They hold back the canopy management. They have big open crops that just can't grow when it really matters. And I think that's something we all really need to think more about. The nice thing about that target of full ground cover at the start of the critical period is it doesn't really matter how you get there. You could sow earlier to get more ground cover, you could increase plant density, you could ameliorate soils. There's any number of tools that you have at your disposal to increase ground cover, but that's the target that you need to hit. I did a meta-analysis of plant density experiments, and what that showed me is that there is no such thing as an optimum plant density. You can't say, hit this target and it'll always work, because the yield response to density is all over the place. That's not just faba bean, that's all crops. What I think we should be thinking about is we should have a floor plant density. I'd suggest it's 20 plants per square meter, but growers can do what they like. The idea of having a floor across all the paddocks and doing what you have to do to achieve a floor density of plants per square meter in your paddock is that it's going to keep you safe and keep you likely to hit that target of full ground cover. And that could be 20, could be 15, seems 15's pushing it, I think, could be 25. Those sorts of numbers are going to help you make sure you're getting to the ground cover that you need. And then on top of that, you can apply other tactics. But beyond that, we can't really say ahead of time, without knowing what the season is, without having a crystal ball, what the best plant density is. So the target is full ground cover. Get there how you like. have a floor plant density. And the other thing that the theory gives you is freedom to not worry about things that don't matter. So I spent a lot of time looking for evidence that pod interacting with pods or flower abortion affect yield, and I found no evidence that that was the case. So we don't need to fix what's not broken. All plants overproduce flowers and abort them. It's normal. What we need to do is let the crop grow as much as it can so it has as much resources available as possible to make seeds, to make yield.